Hi, I'm Kevin Walsh. I'm a professor of law at the University of Richmond School of Law, and I'm here to unpack for you the Supreme Court's recent decision in California versus Texas. That's not the name of the case as it started out. It started out as Texas and a bunch of other states, as well as a couple of individuals, against the U.S. government, against the officials in charge of enforcing the Affordable Care Act's minimum essential coverage provision, also known as the individual mandate. So this is the individual mandate in the Affordable Care Act constitutional challenge. Sound familiar? It should, because in NFIB versus Sebelius, the Supreme Court had rejected a constitutional challenge to this very provision. This one came about because Congress changed the law. So the law said previously, buy insurance or pay a penalty. Right? And it was upheld as a tax. It was saying essentially a tax on not having compliant insurance. Congress changed the law to put that penalty or the tax at zero. Now, that may not sound like a huge deal, but constitutionally it mattered because in order for something to count as a tax, an exercise of Congress's power to tax, it needs to bring in some revenue. A tax of $0 does not bring in any revenue. So the theory of the case was this had rendered the individual mandate unconstitutional, number one, and number two, the unconstitutionality of that central provision took down the entire law through inseverability. Think of it kind of like pulling out a Jenga piece, right? And then everything comes down. So that was Texas's theory, along with some states and individuals. The federal government largely agreed with that theory. And so a bunch of blue states then came in, led by California, and the U.S. House of Representatives came in to defend the law. And the defendants lost all the way to the Supreme Court, and at the Supreme Court, the court ruled 7-2 that the plaintiff's claim was dismissed for no standing. The theory of the opinion is that the plaintiffs, both individuals and states, had no injury that was fairly traceable to the allegedly unlawful conduct of enforcing the specific statutory provision at issue. Now, maybe there were injuries from other provisions, but the individual mandate itself was not something that could be enforced. It was just a tax of $0. And there was nothing a court could do that would redress an injury traceable to enforcement of a tax of $0.